The third type of what-if analysis is what's referred to as scenario managers. And of the four types of what-ifs, goal seek, data table, scenario manager, and solver, scenario, I call it scenario manager, but scenarios is probably the easiest. But it's kind of like the most difficult really to wrap your head around. Basically what scenarios do is save settings, values in your on your worksheet, and then it allows you to output a certain result. And we'll work through that in this example. Um, Now, while it's not required, it is a good idea to create range names when working with scenarios. It's not a required process or option, but it will make it easier later when you're entering values, and number two, when you create a report. So nice little review of naming ranges. So we're going to do column A will be the title, and column B will be the result of the names. So we do that by going to formula, and we choose in the define names group, we click on create from selection. And we're going to use the left column, and we'll click OK. So we should now have some ranges. So if we click on price of car, you'll see that that's going to be the range. So this is going to allow us to determine the demand for a car depending on the price, population, et cetera, et cetera. So to actually do a scenario, you go to the data tab and you go to what if, and you change and you select scenario manager. And what this is going to do is we're going to give it a name, maybe some comments, but we're going to tell it what cells we want to change. And that's going to allow us, in essence, to save those values. And if we have multiple values and multiple scenarios, we can switch between one and two, between those. So we're going to click on add. We're going to create a few scenarios here. So this first scenario is going to be status quo. So you can just type in status, oops, let's spell it right, quo. And the changing cells are going to be B7. So I'm going to click on B7. I'm going to hold down the control key. You could type it if you wanted, but we're going to hold down the control key and click on B11, B13, and B15. And you'll notice if you typed them, you could have just put a comma. Absolutes really don't matter. The comment will always have the person who made changes to it. This is my username for my version of Excel or Office. So this is the first step. Second step is click OK, and then to type in the values. Now these values we're going to keep the way they are. So you'll notice this is the benefit of using range names, because instead of seeing, what was that, B7, B11, B13, B15, we actually see names at work. Now you can go in there and alter the names if you want, but we're going to keep this as is. This is basically our starting point. So we're just going to click, you can either click OK or you can click add. If you click OK, that just brings you back to the scenario manager. But I want to add another one. So we're just going to save ourselves a click, and we're just going to click on add. So now we have another name. So this one's going to be high gas prices, which we've all seen. We're going to use the same changing cells, and we'll click OK. And now these are going to be a little different. Really, the only one we're going to change is the price of gas. That's going to be the third option. Now this is the price of gas in cents. So we're going to change it to 400. So 400 cents. Everything else we're going to leave the same. So that's kind of nice because it instead of having to type all four of these again, you just make the change of the one you want to change. All right, we're going to click add. We're going to do two more scenarios. So we'll click add. This scenario is going to be high gas slash low disposable, which means disposable income. Same changing cells. Notice the comment, which is when it's created. You could type in a comment that explains what this scenario does, but we're just going to leave it the way that is. If I make changes to my scenario, it will append the comments. So we'll just click OK. And the only ones we're going to change is the disposable income will be 20,000, and the gas will be again 400. It was at 187. So it always starts with what your current values are, and then you make changes to those current values. So the only ones we changed was number 2, disposable income to 20,000, and price 400. It's 400 cents. So we'll click add. We're going to do one more, and it's going to be low advertising. Okay. Click OK. Same changing cells, same comment. And the only thing we're going to change here, notice they reverted back to the original. The only thing we're going to do is we're going to change the value in number 4 to 500,000. Okay. And since we're done creating our scenarios, we can click OK. Now at this point, we can show these. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. And all I'm going to do is click on show. And nothing changes because that's the status quo. If I click on where it says high gas prices, I click that, and then I click show, you'll see the numbers change, and there's the demand changes. High gas, low disposable, so I click on that one and choose show, and you can see that the units change. Or if I go down to low advertising, that even changes more. So you can go through and click on the various scenarios. So that's really what I meant when scenarios allow you to save a set of values. Now here we only had 4 cells that we were changing. You could have 5 or 6 cells that you're changing, or 7 or 8 cells. If you wanted to edit any of these, you would just click on, for instance, low advertising. I could click edit, and I could then go through the process. It's still the same name. We have the same changing cells. We click OK, and we could change our values. We'll hit cancel. Once you hit close, the scenarios are still there. They are included in the worksheet. They're sort of attached to the worksheet. So you really only can have one set of scenarios per worksheet. So if I go back and click on what if analysis, and I go back to scenario manager, and you will see that these are my scenarios that I have. If I want to add another scenario, I can click on add, and I could have a, let's say, low gas price, high disposable income. You could have another option. The last thing you can do, which is very useful, is to create a summary report, or just simply a summary. And this allows you to say, okay, here are all my scenarios, and it gives you one big old snapshot. So I'm going to click on summary. And we're going to do a scenario summary, and it's saying, okay, what are my results? Well, what do I want to see? And you can see that since I have B5 selected, that's what's going to show. If it wasn't selected, you would just type in B5. And you're going to see in a moment, let's click OK. These are the various scenarios. This is the current values. We have status quo, high prices, or high gas prices, high gas, low disposable. We could make another one where it has low gas prices, high disposable, or just high disposable. Lots of different options. And then low advertising. All of these, if I just switch real quick to show formulas, they're all just static numbers. There are nothing here that's been calculated. So anything you change on your scenarios, if I go back to my scenario manager and I make changes to any of these, I would have to make another summary. So if you make changes and you want to update your summary, you're just going to have to delete the old and create the new one. Now here you have some options. These are all editable. So I can go here and I can delete this stuff. If you don't want this here, maybe I don't want to see my current values because that's really what I have over here. So I can click on column D and I can go to home and I can hit delete. Here I can get rid of my underscores. You can change the colors if you don't like purple. I can change this to, oops, maybe not yellow. That's kind of obnoxious. So we can change our colors. You may not want these to be gray. You may want them to be just pure white. However way you want to work with these, you can you can change those. I don't know why that didn't change. There we go. You can change the font. If you decide you don't want to see all these scenarios, you can just delete the scenario you don't want. So a scenario is a saved set of values. So that is the first example. I'm going to create, we will do another one in a moment. Notice that it creates a new worksheet before I end this video. So you may want to do, I call these SM2 and SM3. You may change this and you may add what the scenario summary corresponds to. So that's the first example. We will have a second one in a moment.